So I'm going to show you my cleaning process for my laser 730 Toyostoves. These units are basically in every house in Nome, Alaska. Before the Toyostove, there was the monitor stove. The monitors were known for just running. They didn't have a lot of safeties built into them. They would run full rich or run horrible, but they didn't leave you stranded as much. The Toyostoves have a lot of things, safety check systems built in, flame check and cleaning cycles and that kind of thing. So people didn't like them at first. The monitor went out of business or stopped making them. I don't really know the history of monitor. I suppose I could look it up. That's before my time. So the Toyostove is an incredibly clean burning unit. For instance, this unit was last cleaned on 2017. So almost 7 years of runtime since its last cleaning. That is pretty typical. I would say 6-7 years is about as far as you want to go. There's a lot of them running that shouldn't be running. This is probably one of them. So this is a shop unit for us. It's not a rebuild from a customer, and I kind of picked it so I could see how bad things can get. I'm expecting to find some pretty interesting buildup. If you're going to be taking these apart, these are the brackets that hold the stove to the wall. Earthquake brackets, I guess. So you're going to undo all of the screws along the top and along the side opposite of the fuel inlet. So I'm taking all the ones along the top off and along the side. These are pretty unique little screws. I really like them. They keep the camming out. They're stainless. They don't rust. It's just a quality in the unit. These things can look like, to someone who's not used to them, they can look pretty chintzy. I guess any appliance will look that way, but there are actually a lot of features in them that are pretty high quality. So there's 2 screws additional on the back that you need to take care of. And these actually hold the entire heat exchanger burner unit. Those are the 2 right next to the fan, kind of dead center in the machine. One thing I just kind of quick skip by is the little cable that holds this unit, the front control panel to the main board. Don't be afraid of it. You can pull this in and out 100 times. They don't wear out. You just have to be gentle with it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to take off is the baffle. It's above the heat exchange burner ring. Held on by 5 screws. And as soon as you remove the last one, should that shift over, don't worry about it. There's not much to damage up here as long as you don't let the top fall into the wiring on the front of the unit. And then there's a heat shield on the side opposite the fuel inlet that needs to come off. And that's as far as you need to strip these down to do a normal cleaning of the burner pot. Burner pot has 2 screws holding the joint down. There's a gasket in there, and then on the bottom it's just a press fit on with an O-ring made of a high temperature O-ring. So you first take this screw out. I use a long screwdriver. Take the screw out of the back. Okay, so that separates the joint. The whole unit is on a press fit down there, and you can really grief on this and damage that. And that's held in place because it's been heated and cooled for 7 years of running pretty much year round. So I just come in with a map torch and I stop, and then this comes off very easily, and you don't do a lot of damage. The O-ring inside there, and it's in great shape. So we have the burner pot, and there's the little window you can see from the outside, and then this is the blower motor, and these will go bad. I haven't figured out what the rhyme or reason is. You'll find some that have been running really rich, and all the vanes will be plugged up. It'll be out of balance, and when you spin it, you'll hear the bearings. Generally, if it works, it works. And I don't mess with them until they die. And I've got units that are 13 years old that are still working, and I've got units that are 3 years old, and I've replaced the burner already once, the blower already once. That's a whole nother video, because you're going deeper into this unit, taking a lot of stuff off and messing with this hose, which I don't mess with unless I have to, because right now it's rock hard, but it's good. Okay, so getting the top of the burner off, there are 4 high temperature screws. I use an extension in an ancient Makita impact gun. Let's take a look at what we got here. I noticed that there is no burner gasket here. And then if you notice the state of the gaskets here, so this is what we've got going on. So this thing is going to need several parts to be replaced when I do the work. I don't replace these windows unless they are cracked. And if they're cracked, you'll feel it with your fingernail. It's pretty rare that they're cracked. I'll clean that later. This gasket is absolutely necessary to replace. Okay. Part in the center is called the burner ring. You can see a big, huge crack in there. We're going to be replacing this, so I'm going to get a new burner ring, which I stocked for these parts. First rebuild on this unit, I didn't have to replace the burner ring. They usually, on the second rebuild, you're going to need them. So if you look at how this is built, there's little clips that go over a rod and you're twisting it. So if you look at how that's twisted, you're going to twist it counterclockwise to get it off. And I take it off without taking this flame sensor off, but look at the inside of this unit. It's incredible that this runs as well as it did. So that's a very burnt up, cracked, and damaged burner ring. Compared to old, compared to new. It's nice that they say up. I don't know how you're going to mount it upside down. Probably somebody did and burned the house down. That's going to go away. And then this is left over for 7 years of basically constant. I'm sure there's regions of the world where your fuel doesn't do this. The fuel here, they put additives in it to make it more, have more lubricity. It's the same fuel that they're putting in the vehicles, so it's very dry. And so they put an additive in town, in Nome, so that the pumps that pump all this diesel fuel to all the different places will survive. One of the drawbacks I've seen is that I'm seeing more of these units with more stuff in them, and I think it's that additive. So I'm just cleaning up as much as I can. And then I use a needle scaler, which smart thing to do with this is to wear safety glasses and hearing protection. And a mask. The nice thing about this tool is it's as aggressive or as light as much pressure as you give it. It's a pretty fragile bowl, so you don't want to be jamming away at it, but this is some pretty heavy duty dirt, and without it, I don't even think a sandblaster would touch this. So this is after about, I would say, 5 minutes of working with the needle scaler. We're getting there. Notice I haven't taken the igniter out. That igniter is getting replaced. It's easier for me if I get all the junk off around it, and I might even have to break that up to get it out. Here we are. We're about halfway there. When I'm done, it should be all clean metal on the bottom because we're going to be painting that and putting a heater mat on it. Now I'm going to attempt to take out the igniter, the old igniter. This is getting replaced. It is a long-lived one. I haven't replaced this one. I've had a couple of units where every year or so we're having to replace the igniter. So this one's going to give me trouble. Don't lose that ring, although they do come with certain kits. Okay, I'm going to work a little bit on the base of this. I don't really like fighting them out. Just to show you how gentle this thing can be, these are ceramic and they will break if you look at them funny. But I'm hitting that dead on with this, I'm not pressing it. This igniter still works. It's reached the end of its life. Once they're about 6 years old, I don't play with them anymore. Without that scaler, you would be trying to break this out and fighting a huge battle, getting them out. With the scaler, you just work at it until it breaks free, and usually they don't give you any trouble. But this one is ready to go. All right, now that I got that out, I can clean up the rest of the wall. Okay, this is just after removing the igniter, and we're going to try to get the bottom of this bowl just basically all bare metal. Get ready for painting and then a burner mat. Okay, that's all the cleaner I get them. I want to see mostly metal. I'm not really concerned with the sides of the burner pot. They really don't get a lot of buildup beyond what you see here. You can clean it and 10 minutes later it'll look exactly the same. As long as the holes along the side, the flame holes along the side are not plugged. I am more concerned about the bottom of the pot and that little divot where the igniter fits than anything else. And I have very rarely seen the tips of the fuel inlet, this is where the fuel inlet goes in, have anything get plugged either. If I've got an issue with the stove, this stove is running great with no problems. I might spend some time cleaning stuff up otherwise or replacing parts. But beyond that, I'm going to leave it alone. I've got another stove sitting waiting ready to go that is having an E2 code, even though it has plenty of fuel. That one probably is going to get the eye cleaned and the fuel inlet cleaned and a new igniter. But anyways, this is ready for painting. With the burner mat kit comes a bunch of paint. And let's say the bag is a tell you know what I've used, parts out of my inventory that you can use so I can reorder. That's what a burner mat looks like. Take the burner mat off and just set it right there. This is going to be my palette for mixing. I just mix it with a brush and then you just paint the bottom of the burner. And I put the burner mat in while the paint's still wet. I don't know if that's right or not, but. All right. So Toyostove calls this a heat element gasket. This is the gasket that you cannot skip. Can't skip any of them, but because this is the between the burner pot itself and the upper manifold, keeps carbon monoxide from getting in your home. These burn clean, but not that clean. So here I am with the burner mat, painted burner, ready for the installation of the igniter. Put a new burner ring in. I clean off my flame window, the mica, which is very fragile, so very gently just clean these windows off. It's good to make sure that the window is facing the front. It's easy to get it reversed. You see the seam. It runs just fine. I've got units that I've run through a whole cleaning cycle without a window. It's just nice to have a window because it helps you figure out if the unit's actually got flame in it or not when it quits. It gives you one of those infamous error codes that everybody is so frustrated about. 99% of the time, if you're getting error codes, you got a fuel problem. You got water in your fuel, you got a plug filter leading to the fuel, you're out of fuel. The other 1% of the time, it needs to be cleaned. And then a 0.5% of the time, you've got some other issue, flame sensor, board problem, very rare. And usually those problems are caused by someone going in and trying to fix other problems. Most of the time when I get involved in one of these, somebody's already messed up half the stuff, half the gaskets are missing, and they don't know what they're looking at. Torque to specification with my little impact. I'm going to reverse the process. I've never had one of these seals go bad. They hold really well. So I'm doing the same thing. So I did it on the front before. I've changed the color. I'm going to do the same thing on the back till I see it like a toasted marshmallow. Change color evenly. And believe me, you can do a lot of damage if you're trying to wrestle this unit out of the mouth. Okay, so that's where I'm going to put the joint gasket. I put the joint gasket on after I get this unit on because I've broken or damaged joint gaskets. And it's also a good way to forget to put the joint gasket on. You will smell it when the fan kicks in after it's burned off all the stuff you put on there, but you will smell it if you miss the joint gasket. Okay. Joint gaskets in place. All right. The only screws that I put anti-seize on are these two screws that hold the exchanger in place. I don't put a lot on there, but it does make life easier later on. There's the ones that do a few on the unit that will seize up. I'll start with the front, and I'll show you how to get the rear one in a second. Get it in there, 5-6 spins so you can still move this around. And the reason why I do the front first is it semi-lines up the rear. All right, so put the screw on the screwdriver, put your finger on there. It helps to have a long screwdriver. And then you go in behind here and hold it to get it in the spot. And thread it in. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. That was Steve Smith, my local Tundra Toyo dealer, and he's very responsive. And we're glad to have them. All right, once you get it lined up, thread it in, and then just tighten it so the bracket touches the other bracket. Doesn't take any more than that. Does not hold the whole contraption together, it just holds that joint. So my gasket's in place. Let's put a new igniter in. So, in general, an igniter can last through 2 rebuilds. They're at the 3-year mark for their first rebuild. The igniter will generally make it to the 6-year mark, depending on the unit. I've got some units that like to go through igniters, and that probably has more to do with the wind direction and drainage of the exhaust pipe, health of the blower motor. They're usually pretty low, trouble-free. I feel like I've been replacing more than my fair share lately, but that's probably my Midwest guilt complex going on. I don't like running these in with the impact gun, because these particular screws, if they're messed up, you're in trouble. You want to be able to put enough pressure on there to torque that new gasket down. They come with a new ring. This is the old one. Once they're squished flat, they're no longer have anything to give. All connections, connector care is important. Dielectric gel in the connectors. This will solve a lot of problems in your life. Dielectric tune-up grease, 22058. Alright, my hose is still intact. I haven't broken that. Fuel line, flame, windows clean. Got my gasket skin. It's time to put this baby back together. Okay, heat shield. Oh yeah. These screws will pull up, and if you take a hammer and you lose the ability to pull torque, and you can do this over and over again, you take a hammer, don't hit your igniter, and just one tap right on the screw hole, and that is good as gold and will give you all the torque you need. You get a stove where the screws fall out after you put them in, that will solve that problem. Just takes one tap. You don't have to go crazy. This is the baffle that goes on the top. That little corner right there, if this is forward, they won't let you get it. You have to actually push it back and get it behind that plate to get these two to line up. Okay, the ribbon. But it's actually the circuit side in towards the board, the blue side out. You just shove it in there. Actually pretty durable connection, as long as you're not done with it. And then all the painted screws. 4 on the top. And then I put a piece of tape on them because they go through a testing process. I have a spot where if a blower doesn't want to run, that spot will be it. If it runs in that spot, it's going to run anywhere. It's a very useful thing to have. Ready to test. And I usually leave them in place for about a week, and then it's either going to go in storage, be ready to go for another run, or I will sell it. Alright, this one's ready to test. And that is the process of getting a unit ready for the next 3 years. So thank you, and I hope you have as much luck cleaning your units as I do.